You are listening to the Adult Sabbath School Lessons for the third quarter of 2022. This is lesson number 1 of the Adult Sabbath School Bible Study Guide in the Crucible with Christ. This lesson is titled The Shepherd's Crucible and is ready for teaching on July 2. The author is Pastor Gavin Anthony, who was conference president in Iceland when he wrote this series of lessons. Today, your lesson is read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Monday, June 27. Locations on the Journey. Psalm 23 verse 3 in the New Revised Standard Version reads, "He leads me in right paths for his name's sake." Imagine the paths of righteousness stretching out before you, way out into the distance. You cannot see the end, but you know that at the end of the journey is home, God's house. As you focus a little closer to you, do you see where the path leads? You can see some places clearly, but other parts are totally obstructed by large or dangerous obstacles. Sometimes the path disappears over a ridge. Some parts of the path are easy to walk along, others are difficult. It was just like this as Israel travelled from Egypt to the Promised Land, and it is described the same way in this psalm. Identify from Psalm 23 the locations that David sees the sheep passing through when following the paths of righteousness as they make their way to the house of the Lord. Well, let's go to Psalm 23, and the first one I see is in verse 2. He makes me to lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside the still waters. And verse 3, he restores my soul, he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And verse 4, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And verse 5, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. And verse 6, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. But why are these paths called paths of righteousness? Or, as it says in the New International Version and the New Revised Standard Version, right paths. Here are 4 important reasons. First, they are the right paths because they lead to the right destination, the shepherd's home. Second, they are the right paths because they keep us in harmony with the right person, the shepherd himself. Third, they are the right paths because they train us to be the right people, like the shepherd. Fourth, they are the right paths because they give us the right witness. As we become the right people, we give glory to the Lord. They are right or righteous paths, whether the going is easy or hard. It is important to realize that when God leads us, it is not simply a question of his delivering a parcel to the destination. It is much more than guidance and protection. Like the many examples all through the Bible in which God is leading his people, whether it is leading Abraham by his promises, or leading Israel by the pillar of fire and cloud, when God is guiding, it is always about his training his people in righteousness. And so to finish the day, how conscious are you that righteousness is the shepherd's priority for your life? How can trials change your life so that you better reflect the character of Christ? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.